Okay, so on this first one, we're trying to simplify. Okay. What is 125 divisible by? 25 and 5. And what can we break 25 down into? Okay. Now, just a reminder, you want to look here to decide what type of groups that you want. So this is going to be groups of 2. So if we have 2 5s, we're going to pull them out front. And then what are we left with on the inside? A 5. So ta-da, final answer. Okay. On your mastery check, the first question literally asks you to multiply, then simplify, which we're about to do multiplication in just a second. Okay. On the next one, we're going to do the numbers first. So what is this divisible by? 3 and 8. And this can be broken down into 2 and 4 and 2 and 2. We look right here. We need a group of 3. So we're going to pull this guy out to the front. So 2 cube root of 3. And then we have 5 x's. This is where people start messing up. We get a group of 3 and pull them out. How many do we have left over? So we're going to write x squared. Same thing for y's. So y comes out and we get y squared. Okay. Oftentimes, the thing that people mess up on here is they don't put the little 3 in the little cubby hole. They forget about it. Questions on those two? Okay. On the next one, we have 2 c's. Can we make a group of 3? No, so he's just going to chill inside the radical. And then we have 3 d's. So we make one group, comes outside the radical. We have 4 e's, so we make one group, and then we have one that stays inside. Okay, so the number that's associated here is going to tell you how many things need to be in a group. So for instance, we had 3 d's, so we made a group of 3. However many groups we have, that's how many we pull out. We had 1 d. Now we had 4 e's. We needed a group of 3. So we pulled 1 out. And how many were we left over with? So that went inside the radical. Okay, take a second. Try number 4 if you didn't get to it. Stop. So if we break 216 down, what is it divisible by? 2 and 108. And then 108 divided by 2 is 54. And then divide by 2, 27. And then divide by 3. Cool. So we want to make a group of 3, right? We've got these 2's, so we're going to pull a 2 out. And then we got these 3's, so we're going to pull a 3 out. So what's 2 times 3? Good so far. Then we have 6 A's. How many groups are we going to have? 2. So we're going to have an A squared on the outside. And this B can't make a group of 3, so he's stuck underneath the radical. 5 and 6, and then I'll give you some time to do 7 and 8. Okay, so 5, remember, when we multiply, we're going to multiply the outsides. We're going to multiply the outsides. So 2 times 5 gives me what? 10. And then 40 times 2 gives me 80. If I break that down, I'm going to get 2 and 40, 2 and 20, 2 and 10, 5 and 2. We want groups of 3. We want groups of 3. Okay, so we've got a group of 3 2's. So we're going to pull that out to the outside. What's 10 times 2? 20. And then this is the part that everybody forgets. What's 5 times 2? 10. Okay, so whatever we're left over with, that's what we're going to multiply together and put back in. So to summarize, we break down by factors, and then we look at the ends of the branches. And if we have a group of 3's, then we're going to pull that out to the front. Okay. All right, on this one, if we break this down, what factors do we have? 8 and 2. What are factors of 8? And then factors of 4. So remember, our goal in this is to get all the way down to a prime number. A prime number is something that can't be broken down except for one in itself. Okay, now we're looking at groups of 2. So we got 2 here, 2 here. So what's 2 times 2? That's going to come outside the radical. Now we have B and B. How many groups do we have? So we're just going to pull that 4B out to the side. No radical needed because nothing is left underneath. Okay, I see a lot of writing. What part did we get stuck at? Probably the radical part. Was there a radical left? Okay. So on the next one, what is this divisible by? Okay. 12 breaks down into 2 and 2. 4 breaks down into 2 and 2. 12 breaks down into 2 and 6. 2 and 3. We got a group of 2. Group of 2. What's 2 times 2? And we're left with 3 on the inside. Now we had 8 B's. And how many groups is that going to make? Give you still not done with this one. We still got to break down that last part. So if you break this down, we can do 2 and 16, and then 2 and 8, and then 2 and 4. I'm sorry, I'm writing over here. 2 and 2. We got a pair of 2s, a pair of 2s. We're left over with 1. So this would give me 4 square root of 2b. And there's a negative out front. Now, with adding and subtracting, we look at underneath the radical. Is underneath the radical the same for all of these? No, we can't combine anything. So our final answer is this expression. So sometimes it looks a little crazy, okay? So I do want to talk about one thing on this. There's 2 different ways you can do multiplication. You can simplify and then multiply, or you can multiply and then simplify. I personally like to multiply and then simplify. Okay, because otherwise you have to do it kind of twice. I'm going to show you both ways just so that you're good on this. So multiplying, you multiply the outsides together and then you multiply the insides together. So the outsides are 1 times 1, which will give us 1. And then 50 times 5, which is 250. And then y'all all asked me about how do you multiply variables? You just stick them beside each other. So like x squared y to the 7th. Now, if you simplified first, that's okay. So if you did this, if you were like 50x squared times 5y to the 7th. If you broke this down, then you would have gotten 5x square root of 2, and then you would have gotten y to the 3rd square root of 5y. And then you multiplied it. That's okay. We're still not done with this one, though. When we look at this, we're going to break this down into 25 and 10. Break this down into 5 and 5, 5 and 2. I got a pair of 5s. I've got 2 x's. That makes 1 group. I've got 5 times 2, which is 10 on the inside. I've got 7 y's. So that's going to be 3 groups with 1 left over. If you did this, you'll still get the same thing. You'll get 5xy cubed and then 10y. You'll get the exact same thing. It just depends on how you want to solve it. Sometimes the numbers are really big on this, and then you have to re-simplify. So you just have to be careful on that. Okay, do y'all need a minute on 8? Crickets. Okay, so 8, I guess we're gonna go ahead and talk about. Okay, so on 8, with adding and subtracting, you have to have the same number underneath the radical in order to add or subtract. So what are factors of 54? Say it again. 6 and 9. Okay, we break this down into 3 and 3. Break this down into 3 and 2. Check our little cubby hole. It's groups of 3 with a 2 left over. So what's 3 times 3? 9. So we get 9 cubed root of 2. And we have 4 x's. How many groups are we going to make? With how many left over? When I do the other one, I can break that down into 2 and 8, 2 and 4, and 2 and 2. Again, group of 3. So that's going to give me 2x cube root of a 2x left over. Are they the same underneath the radical? Yes. So we can add the outsides. So what's 9x plus 2x? 11x cube root of 2x. So really quick, on your mastery check, the first question is going to be about multiplying. The second one is going to be about adding, and it's going to deal with a cube root. And the third one is going to be about area. Okay. And it's going to have like a word problem. So, all right. On this first one, it says write out an expression to model the perimeter of the triangle. So our expression would look something like this. Now, can we simplify this 2 square root of 3? No. Can we simplify the square root of 3? No. But what about the square root of 20? Yes. We can break that down into 5 and 4, and then 2 and 2. So this can be simplified to 2 square root of 5. Now, we still have to find the perimeter. So we're going to add 2 square root of 3 plus square root of 3 plus 2 square root of 5. What things can we combine? Okay, and that's because they have the same number underneath, right? So that's going to give me 3 square root of 3 plus 2 square root of 5. And that 2 square root of 5 is just hanging out because it can't be added to anything. Fun. All right, we got 1/2 base times height, which is our area. Okay, this is part C. So this is part C. I'm not scrolling down for it though. So 1/2, what's our base? Square root of 3. And what's our height? 2 root 3. Now, ignore this 1/2 really quick. Okay. What's 1 times 2? 2. What's 3 times 3? 9. What's the square root of 9? So 2 times 3, which is 6. Now, what is 1/2 of 6? That equals 3. So again, this is part C. This is talking about an area of a triangle. This will be on your test, but not your mastery check. On your mastery check, it'll be a square or a rectangle. I'm sorry, it'll be a square. So, but on your test, there's a question about triangle. You got to know area of a triangle. The answer is 3. So your area is 1/2 base times height. You plug in and then you simplify. Now, since this is a whole number, this guy is going to be rational, right? So the area is going to be rational. That's his part D. Since this guy has a radical still at the end, this is going to be irrational. All right, so again, checking your work off of this. Okay, so we had one question about G. Okay, so G is a product of a non-zero rational and irrational number. Give me a rational number. 2, and then give me an irrational number. Say again. Root 5. Okay, so if I multiplied those together, I would get 2 root 5. Is that rational or irrational? Okay, is there a time where it makes it rational? Is there a time that makes it where it's irrational? I don't think I came up with one. No. So that one's always going to be irrational. Is there one that you came up with? Of what? That's rational. So let's talk through what rational and irrational mean. Rational is a whole number. It's repeating. So like if you type this in, this would be 0.333333333, keeps going. Okay. Or it's a decimal. Okay. That could be terminating. Irrational, you want to think like pi, you want to think square root of 3, square root of some number, and that number goes on forever, right? Cool. Okay. On your test, you're going to be asked something very similar to what you got going on here. You can either memorize these examples or come up on one on your own. Okay, that's okay too. Okay. Questions over anything? Okay, this again is probably the trickiest part.